What we've done so far will work just fine, but we're going to go a little further. So to be the best programmers we can be, we're not only going to specify that a list is a list61b, but we're also going to mark every single method that came from list61b with a special override annotation. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at all these methods, some of them came from list61b, like add last. And I'm going to put here override with an @ symbol. I'm just going to go through for every one of these and just write override. Okay? Now this doesn't actually change what happens when my code runs. It doesn't make it faster, but it will have one tiny effect that we'll see in a moment. So I'm just going to do it real quick. And that's that. So now we've marked all the methods with override. And while that's not strictly speaking necessary, we're going to require you to do this in 61b. So if a subclass, let me just tell you what override means, I guess, first. If a subclass has the same signature as a method in the superclass, we're going to say the subclass method overrides the method. So in other words, on the left, we have overriding. Here's the animal interface. It has a make noise method. And what do pigs do? Well, one of the things they can do is make noise. So this overrides the above method. So they have the exact same signature, thus it is overriding. What the override tag does is it acts as a reminder that we're overriding. So it's a signal to programmers that this is an override. And even if you don't do override, you're still overriding it. So this doesn't mean please override the method. You could think of it as just like, hey, by the way, this is overriding. So it's a subtle distinction. This is in contrast, by the way, to the notion of overloading. So overloading before was where we have two methods with the same name, but a different signature. So a dog might have a different way that it barks at dogs versus the way that it barks at cats. So it's a tiny difference, but an important one. So with overloading, we don't have a special overload tag, but with overriding we do. And the reason is that in this case, they're going to be in two different files. So it's nice to make a note here that this is actually overriding. So in a better interface, a better implementation of, oh, this shouldn't be a class. We've got to fix it. We can't let this aggression stand. Okay. Anyway, why not fix the slide while recording? You know, that's fun. Okay. So again, override is not strictly speaking necessary. It is largely a reminder to a programmer that the method ultimately came from someone else. There's actually another reason, a practical reason, which is protects against typos, by the way. So if I'm overriding a method and I accidentally do something like, let's say add firsts or whatever, then my program won't compile and I'll get an error saying, you claim to be overriding. You said this came from the boss, but it doesn't actually override something from a superclass. So that's a nice thing too. Gives the compiler an extra thing to check.